So I just got the memo that we are to speak to our old self that came in. I don't know. You did a hell of a job. Maybe you didn't give 100%. Yeah, this process has been unbelievable for you, Ellen.
Let's see if it's going. Ah, it's going. Hi, it's Lisa. So, I think I'm gonna end with the fact that I'm probably becoming more and more accepting of the fact that a good part of my disease is affected by the way I grew up, the way I think, the way I compensated for the way I think.
How many of you have had that experience where you're watching a movie and you just lose all sense of where you are, who you are? The credits come up and it's like you're waking up from a dream, right? It's like, whoa. Or you're reading a novel and the phone rings and it snaps you out of that. Anyone had that experience? Yeah, we all have, right? There's something about stories that just takes us there. So like, what is a story if not an account of something? And that accounting, that storytelling, we're all doing it all the time in our head. I mean, this is part of what it is to be human. You know, there's Elie Wiesel, he's the Holocaust survivor and a human rights activist and a writer. He has this quote, he says, "God created humans because God loves stories." We are like the way that story comes into the world. We are storytelling creatures, like fish live in the sea. We live in stories. The stories in here, the counts that we have of everything in our life. If we have a story that doesn't map well onto what is actually going on in life, stories that we developed as a young child in really hard circumstances, stories that don't serve us anymore, stories that aren't even accurate anymore. Are we stuck with that? Is that our reality? As soon as we start recognizing that our stories are not reality, we become the storytellers of our own life.
The story that we're telling ourselves has an enormous impact on how we live our lives. It's not to brainwash ourselves out of it, but to allow us to see things from a different perspective. We get locked in. So this isn't just about, changing a difficult story and pretending and whitewashing it to be a good story. This is about finding what's at the root of the story. I almost think that we're assisting in a maturation process, which we used to do by sitting around the campfire and having elders tell us stories. So now what we're doing is we're asking people to go in and work with narrative medicine for their own maturation process, which brings about certainly psychological, spiritual, and emotional healing. And when we see that happen, there's decreased inflammation. We also will see physical healing.
When we start to look at illnesses, we start to look at, well, what is the cause of an illness? And since we've seen the biological body as a machine, cells and genes and chemistry, we look for the problems in that mechanism. So when we see people with behavioral issues, psychological issues, addiction, depression, and stuff like that, we look at the body as a machine, and we therefore try to get in and influence the chemistry and say, just by putting chemicals in, I go, well, you're missing it. Chemistry is not out of balance. The chemistry is doing exactly what the mind is intending it to do.